Sometimes he doesn't say it, doesn't write it, and will never admit it. Yet you can feel it in the air between you. That quiet intensity. That unspoken pull. Because when a man loves, truly loves, his words often fail him, but his body doesn't. His movements, his presence, his silence. They all start speaking the language his lips can't. In a world that has taught men to hide their emotions, to treat vulnerability as weakness and to wear strength like armor, love becomes something they live in secret. Carl Jung, the great Swiss psychoanalyst, once said that what we suppress in the conscious mind never disappears. It simply sinks into the unconscious, shaping our behavior from the shadows. And that's exactly where much of a man's love hides. Deep in the part of himself he doesn't yet understand. It's not that he doesn't feel, it's that he feels too much. So instead of saying, "I love you," he expresses it through actions that seem small, but carry the weight of something far greater. You can see it in the way he looks at you, the way he stays close without demanding attention, the way he shows up when it matters most. These gestures may seem ordinary, but they're anything but. They're the quiet revelations of a heart that hasn't yet found the courage to speak. The first sign is in his gaze. They say the eyes never lie. And in love, they tell the entire story. When a man is in love but unaware or afraid to admit it, his gaze betrays him. It lingers longer than it should, softens when it meets yours, or sometimes avoids you altogether. Not because he doesn't care, but because looking at you stirs something he can't control. It's an instinctive reaction, a moment where his unconscious speaks before his mind can intervene. His eyes search for you in crowded rooms. His glance follows you when you're not looking. And when your eyes finally meet, the world seems to quiet for a moment. That's not coincidence, that's connection. Jung once said that we do not see the world as it is, but as we are. And through his gaze, you glimpse who he truly is beneath the layers of restraint and composure. In you, he sees a reflection of something sacred, his anima, the inner feminine side of his psyche that represents emotional depth, love, and connection. That's why his gaze feels different. It's not lust. It's not admiration alone. It's recognition. A man in love often sees you not as another person, but as a mirror of his own soul, the part he's been unconsciously seeking to complete himself. But this gaze can be complicated. Sometimes he holds it longer than usual, as if your eyes have become a truth serum, disarming his defenses. Other times, he avoids it entirely, because what he sees there scares him. Vulnerability, desire, honesty, all the emotions he's been taught to suppress, are suddenly reflected back at him, and it's overwhelming. So he looks away, changes the subject, distracts himself. You might think he's disinterested, but it's the opposite. He feels too much and doesn't know how to contain it. His eyes may flicker toward you when he thinks you're not watching, tracing your gestures, memorizing your presence. You catch him, and for a fleeting moment his mask slips. That's when you see it. The unguarded affection, the tenderness he tries so hard to hide. These looks aren't rehearsed. They aren't driven by seduction or habit. They're raw, hesitant, and filled with emotion. It's the unconscious revealing itself, the soul reaching out through the simplest human gesture. Sight. When his words are locked away, his gaze becomes his confession. The second sign lies in something even quieter, yet far more powerful: his presence. He may not send love letters or grand romantic gestures, but he is there, especially when it matters. When life feels heavy, when you're tired, hurt, or lost, he shows up. Not always with the perfect words, but with the simple truth of being present. He doesn't rush to fix you or distract you, he just stays, silent, steady, grounded. In a world where emotional avoidance is often the norm, his willingness to stay close when things are hard is one of the purest expressions of love. He may never call it that, but his actions do. Jung spoke of what he called the transcendent function, an inner force that bridges the gap between the conscious and unconscious, guiding us toward wholeness. When a man begins to love even unknowingly, this force awakens. Something inside him shifts. He feels drawn to care, to protect, to nurture. Not because he's trying to win you, but because his soul recognizes a connection it can't explain. You'll notice it in small moments. When he checks on you after a long day. When he sends a message out of nowhere that somehow arrives exactly when you need it. When he brings food without being asked or simply sits next to you in silence. He doesn't need a reason to be there. He just is. And that quiet, consistent presence is love in its purest form. There's no performance, no expectation, no calculation. Just the raw instinct to make sure you're okay. He might not label it love, but his unconscious knows. His actions reveal what his ego tries to conceal. In those small gestures, the ones that ask for nothing in return, lies the kind of affection words could never capture. He might not talk about his feelings. He might even deny them. But when he's around, you feel a certain calm, a silent reassurance that he's attuned to you in ways he doesn't fully understand. He'll notice when you're quiet, sense when something's wrong, and offer his presence instead of empty reassurances. He might fumble for words or pretend it's nothing, but his behavior tells another story. He'll ask if you've eaten, if you've made it home safely, if you're okay, not out of obligation, but because he needs to know. And even though these gestures may seem ordinary, they hold meaning, because they come from a place deeper than logic or duty. They come from love, and the most telling part, he never makes it about himself. He doesn't seek recognition or gratitude. His caring is effortless, natural. He helps not because he expects affection in return, but because something inside him feels right when you're okay. This kind of love is protective but never possessive, gentle but powerful, quiet but undeniable. It's not the kind of love that shouts. It's the kind that stays silently, consistently, even when words fail. From a Jungian perspective, what guides him isn't calculation or desire for control. It's the deeper self, the part that yearns for connection beyond reason. When he acts out of this space, he's not following a script. He's following instinct, the pull of something ancient and honest. He might never articulate it, but you'll feel it in the way he shows up, the way he listens, the way he exists near you like an unspoken promise. So when you wonder, does he care? Does he love me? Look beyond the words. The truth is written in his gaze and carved into his presence. These are not just signs. They are expressions of a love that operates beneath awareness, beyond pride, beyond fear. A man who loves but doesn't yet know it will never tell you directly. But his unconscious, his body, his eyes, his quiet constancy will tell you everything. Because love doesn't always speak aloud. Sometimes it simply shows up and stays silently, stubbornly, beautifully, until the words finally find their way to the surface. The third sign of a man's unspoken love lies in those subtle, involuntary flashes of jealousy, though not the toxic or controlling type, but a quiet, instinctive reaction that reveals the depth of his feelings. It is not about possession. It is about a deep, often unconscious fear of losing something he values intensely, you. Carl Jung believed that the ego reacts defensively when something touches an unconscious wound or provokes a profound emotion. And this is exactly what occurs when a man loves you without admitting it even to himself. These reactions appear suddenly, sometimes unexpectedly, in the form of a pause in conversation, a tightness in his expression, a slightly hurtful comment, or a momentary withdrawal. You may wonder, what did I say? Did I do something wrong? The truth is, these are glimpses into his inner world, a place where affection and emotional conflict coexist, and his love manifests indirectly because he has not yet consciously recognized it. He may deny it with phrases like, "It's nothing, I'm fine," but his eyes, gestures, and demeanor tell another story. His reactions reflect a connection that is both strong and confusing, a tension between what he feels and what he allows himself to acknowledge. He may claim he doesn't want commitment, insist that he is not serious, yet his energy shifts noticeably when you are with someone else or even mention another man. This contradiction is revealing. The stronger he represses his feelings, the more unconsciously they emerge through subtle cues, longer silences, slight irritations, and passive behaviours that contradict his words. In these moments, jealousy becomes a signal of emotional investment, a window into his heart that shows he cares, even if he cannot say it aloud. It is a reflection of unconscious love, an internal tug toward you that his mind has not yet given permission to fully express. The fourth sign of his hidden affection is revealed in his body language, the unspoken communication of attention, care, and longing that words cannot convey. The body rarely lies, and when a man loves unconsciously, his movements, posture, and gestures speak volumes. From a Jungian perspective, the unconscious communicates through symbols, behaviours, and physical presence, and his body becomes a vessel for feelings he cannot articulate. Observe him closely. When you enter a room, he may straighten up without thinking, adjust his posture, or display subtle nervousness, all reflecting the inward pull of his attention toward you. Even small cues like the direction of his feet can reveal focus. Experts in nonverbal communication note that feet often indicate where true attention lies, and he may unconsciously orient them toward you while appearing casual. He lingers nearby, finds reasons to stay in your presence, and engages in gentle touches, brushing hair away, a hand on your back as you leave a space, or a fleeting touch on the arm, all of which are gestures of affection and care without romantic performance or pressure. Pay attention to his smile. The spontaneous, genuine smile he directs at you is unlike the ones he gives to others, carrying a mix of warmth, awe, and joy that signals deep connection and emotional resonance. Restlessness or awkwardness may appear, not as discomfort, but as nervous energy generated by feelings he cannot yet process consciously. His body communicates attraction, protectiveness, and investment far more honestly than words because it is unfiltered by conscious thought. In these movements, touches, and subtle postures, his unconscious love becomes visible, a language of care, attentiveness, and silent devotion that only a perceptive observer can fully appreciate. Even minor behaviors like seeking opportunities to be near you or adjusting his actions to align with your comfort indicate the depth of his emotional engagement. He does not need to articulate his feelings. His presence alone, mediated through body language, demonstrates a consistent pattern of affection, support, and attention, revealing love in its quietest, most sincere form. The fifth and most profound sign of his unconscious love emerges through emotional vulnerability, the moments when he allows you to glimpse his inner world, despite maintaining an outer mask of composure and strength. Society often teaches men to conceal feelings, maintain control, and project confidence, but with you, that armor softens. In your presence, he shares fragments of his life, past disappointments, fears, losses, or childhood experiences, not to seek validation or sympathy, but because he senses safety and trust with you. He may recount an old wound, a regret, or a personal failure without embellishment, offering you access to his most private emotional experiences. These acts of sharing are love in action, unconscious, yet intentional in their effect. They demonstrate trust, connection, and acknowledgement of your significance in his emotional life. Carl Jung emphasized that authentic connection occurs in the depths of the psyche rather than on the surface, and when he opens up, he is engaging in a profound relational experience, revealing that he has integrated you into his internal landscape. These disclosures, even when brief or awkward, communicate honesty, openness, and emotional availability, signaling that his heart is invested in a way words alone cannot capture. Occasionally, he may withdraw after such moments, overwhelmed by the intensity of his own emotions, but the act itself is a testament to affection, not avoidance. This vulnerability shows that he allows his anima, the inner, often hidden feminine part of his psyche, to express itself through trust and connection with you, revealing a depth of feeling beyond conscious acknowledgement. Whether he shares dreams, fears, or personal reflections, he is offering the rarest gift of love, access to the private, unguarded self. Together, these three signs, jealousy, body language, and emotional openness, create a portrait of love expressed unconsciously, subtly, and profoundly. Each sign conveys what words cannot: the intensity of his feelings, the focus of his attention, and the courage to share inner vulnerability. They reveal a man who experiences love deeply even when he cannot articulate it, demonstrating that true affection is not always spoken but lived silently and powerfully. His jealousy indicates emotional investment, his body communicates attention and care, and his vulnerability allows you to see the unseen layers of his psyche. By recognizing these behaviors, you gain insight into his heart, learning to interpret the language of unconscious love. These cues reveal not just that he feels, but that he is emotionally and psychologically engaged in a way that transcends societal expectations, fear, or conscious denial. For women seeking to understand a man beyond what he says, these signs are invaluable, teaching observation, patience, and awareness. They illustrate how love manifests in actions, gestures, and presence, often in silence, yet unmistakably genuine. Understanding these signs requires mindfulness and attention to subtlety. Observe his eyes, posture, and actions carefully, and note how they shift in response to your presence. His body communicates what the conscious mind may resist admitting. His nervous energy, attentive touches, and spontaneous smiles are all markers of a heart navigating love without words. His jealousy may confuse or challenge you, yet it is a window into the unconscious affection he cannot yet consciously embrace. His emotional openness, though rare and sometimes fleeting, signals trust and a willingness to share what he guards from the world. Together, these expressions paint a comprehensive picture of a man deeply invested in you, navigating the complexities of unspoken love with care, sensitivity, and unconscious honesty. These three signs collectively offer profound insight into his feelings. Even if he never writes a love letter or declares his affection explicitly, the combination of protective jealousy, attentive body language, and emotional vulnerability provides a clear map of his internal world. Each action, glance, and wordless gesture is an affirmation of love that exists beyond conscious acknowledgement, demonstrating that true connection often happens quietly, beneath the surface, and manifests in ways that are profoundly human. Observing and understanding these cues allows you to witness love in its most authentic form, one that nurtures, protects, and reveals itself without performance or expectation. In recognizing these behaviors, you see the truth of his emotions. You notice that even in silence, love exists, and that the unconscious has its own language, expressed in jealousy, posture, gestures, and vulnerability. These signs are timeless, universal, and rooted in the deepest dimensions of human connection. Carl Jung's perspective reminds us that what remains unspoken often carries the most profound truth, and by learning to read these subtle signals, you gain access to the authentic, unfiltered expressions of a man's heart, discovering love that is patient, attentive, and transformative even when words fail.